Mr. Anand Singh, the Additional Solicitor General of India. I may also describe another capacity today regarding him, the person who stole the thunder away as the moderator of the last session. Also a very dear friend. Uday Varanjikar, who I admire his skills in the selection of the place. I didn't know that RERA was of such importance in Maharashtra, in addition to the country. I think we have all been educated in a number of ways, and the importance of the subject, the selection of the team, the collaborations, the putting together of lawyers, the fact that so many lawyers stay on and the hall remains crowded till the second technical session is indeed a matter of commendation for Uday and for Mrinalini, who are both the co-organizers along with their amazing team. The various members, including Prashant Kumar, the President-elect of the Bar Association of India, other members, other dignitaries, I will not be able to name all, please forgive me. Distinguished panelists, moderator, when I walked into these hallowed halls, normally we say this for courts, we say this for tribunals, we say this for adjudicatory bodies. The first impression that I had, I was reminded, and I mentioned it to some of our colleagues, was the fact when I remembered the 800th celebrations of the Magna Carta in England. And it was almost identical to this convocation hall. And I was told, and Prashant rightly pointed out, the similarity between the two is not only in form, it is also the fact that Indians built this and Indians built that. So I think we have come a long way in this entire exercise. Second, as I mentioned, the selection of the subject. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, it is an exercise to consider a subject and to decide on the modality and the niche areas where it can actually extend and the interest to lawyers. And I may say that, of course, it is of immense interest to everybody because the David and the Goliath story, which is the biblical story, is something which always expounds itself in the people, and people like to know of that strength where one poor man, one small man, one tiny man, one puny man fights a system, fights a 9 foot tall Goliath, and beats him. And people don't believe that that can be happening. So today the subject, which is of the current technical section, of why or is the consumer protected. Indeed, I might say that if I again reverse and go back a little time in history, real estate in India today opened up as an FDI substantially in the last decade. And I think that has been an opening for a reason. The development which signifies social development and why and how people should have available to them allotment of houses, of flats, of areas, of lands. And the figures today which reflect the real estate sector would be something indicating about $1 trillion, which will be the real estate sector by 2030. And by 2025, I believe the real estate sector is going to contribute 13% to the GDP of the nation. So I think that is where the interest lies. Have we been able to reach an area where we have been able to protect ourselves? One of the speakers who spoke before me. In fact, a lot of the ideas have already been mooted, so I'll just be touching and brushing some of them. I have no intention of going through each and every part of what has been spoken about. But one of the essential issues that has arisen is all these incidents. You take JP, you take Unitech, you take Amrapali, you take Skipper, you see people behind jails, you see the government, you see the courts trying to ensure that the poor home buyer is protected, and in an era where RERA was not there, because this applies to those cases where the projects had already launched off. So all of them were being tried in the context of no RERA, but in the context of Consumer Protection Act. Every act has a purpose, every act has a time. It is only a question of how do you fit the time within the time horizons of the development of the nation. So you had these cases happening, and if you look behind them, what was the principal issues that were there? And in fact, I was doing one or two of the cases. In particular, I was doing Amrapali, in fact appearing for NBCC, which was to take over the project because of the failure of Amrapali to meet the home buyers requirements, and it is actually shocking when you are in courts. I'm sure most of you have seen that, how so many people, the courts are crowded, that one court, it is impossible to even step inside it because of the concern of the people, of the small people, and of course the lawyers teams which represent many facets, because you have the home buyer, you will have the developer, you will have the promoter, you will have the financial institution, you will have the authorities. So you have a complete stakeholders basis for being there, and today the courts were trying this in the absence of an appropriate law to define how to get the home buyers to ultimately ensure that they get their homes, their flats, and that one poor flat owner, the two poor flat owner, and the various people espousing their causes which went on. It is in this context that the RERA came around in 2016. And I think the principal areas of concern, I'll just outline again those, is firstly the fact that developers start building one project and diverting the funds to other projects. I mean, if you can put it as simply as that, it goes on, it's a time scale, it keeps bouncing over, and that money from the first project is gone to the second, second to the third to the fourth. It is actually totally lost in oblivion. It becomes an impossibility to retrieve it from that various sources that it has gone through, and second, it becomes, in any case, there is insolvency issues and others which come around, there are third-party rights which are created, there are third-party institutions which have vested rights. So the complete adequacy of funds and escrow accounts or deposits, which I think RERA has done one of the primary things to ensure. Firstly, that you have 70% deposit which ensures that that amount is available for that project, and I leave it at that. The second, I find, and people have come to me as lawyers, as social beings, I might say, one poor home owner, as I said, Delhi has comparatively lesser than Maharashtra, but nonetheless, my flat was not delivered to me in time. My flat had these defects. My flat had these inadequacies. I never saw the sanction papers. I never saw the completion certificate. I didn't see the area, and more than area today, what is most important in Delhi at least is parking area. That has become the bone of contention and the bane of life as far as Delhi is concerned. So we go with these situations for people not having knowledge. You are struggling with access to information, access to those plans. How can you as a homeowner fight your rights if you don't have access to that knowledge? So knowledge, which has been the basis of RERA, to ensure that each of these documents are filed and registered at the time of registration, is hopefully one of the sureties to ensure that if I have a cause of action, I am able to demonstrate without struggling like fish without water, and actually proceed without having to go to all the resources to get together the paperwork to indicate what my rights were in respect of either quality, quantity, time, and various other features. So I think if I can really mention these two, and the third, speakers spoke before me, and it is correct. We in India are used not to performing till we are compelled to perform. And that is the hallmark of us. So be it. The law comes into being for these purposes. Social being necessitates law to be made in accordance with what is required. In any case, it is required to be regulated. You cannot have an unorganized sector, which is one of the principal 13% of GDP. By 2025 is the indication. We cannot have a sector such as this which is unregulated. Maybe there are some infirmities in it. Maybe there are some clarifications that are required. Maybe there are some modifications required. I am not arguing against those, whether Mr. Deshpande is totally right or the redevelopment is included or can be included, is a subject matter of certain determination, judicial and otherwise. But nonetheless, my understanding and my belief and my hope is this, that with these kind of legislations and with authorities like RERA and with states like Maharashtra, where we are sitting, which has been the principal leader in these activities, whether it is judicial. I saw that there was even a notification on 6th of June by the Maharashtra government, which says that brokerage expenses and promotional expenses will not be included as part of a cost, and that is by way of a notification. Of course, as we all lawyers know, a lot of things may be ultimately assailed by the Goliaths of the world, but whatever the case may be, the intention is to regulate, the intention is to ensure, the intention is to punish, and the intention is not to punish after an act has been done which cannot be remedied. The purpose of RERA is to ensure, A, that things do not go wrong in these projects and there is some surety in supply of those flats and other, so the home buyers, and B, the fear of God or the fear of deterrence, as one might say, as Anil said in fact, quite rightly, make the deterrence so palpable that people will be afraid to take steps. So like 10,000 rupees for challans, traffic challans instead of 500 rupees, make it penalty, make it imprisonment, and not 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees, even 1 lakh or 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs. That doesn't seem to prevail because people feel paying that is a much easier and a more economic issue rather than to go behind jail. So the idea is to get this entire action off the ground, and as I said, we are proud of the fact that Maharashtra has been a forerunner in this entire RERA activity and has been leading the field. A lot of other states have actually implemented this, are in the process of implementation. It is a period always of evolution. We lawyers are here to make it happen, and the intention of all the society, the legal community, the Bar Association of India, the Consumer Association of what is it, Maharashtra, I assume, of Maharashtra, I'm sorry, I have to figure this out once in a while, but the entire attempt is to ensure that there is benefit to society. At the same time, there is development and evolution. So everything that Mr. Deshpande says or Mr. Kadam says is also something we have to look in, but that is an evolutionary process, and may God have the best law rule the society so that the society is for the betterment of all. Thank you very, very much.